On the phone with us, as always, on Fridays, Mr. Tommy Duff at the kickoff. Tommy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Tommy, again, we want to say thank you so much for coming on this year for the kickoff for our football program this year. Again, we want to say thank you as always.
Well, thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. And as always, what is the kickoff and how can we get it?
Well, the kickoff's been around for 69 years, covering college football. Every week you get into your inbox or a print version mailed to you. You get one of our issues. It's goes through every week through the entire football season, and then during recruiting and the off season, we also do monthly issues, and you can get it by giving us a call at 423-267-0953, or you can log on to www.thekickoffstore.com, and you can subscribe there and have it done digitally.
Absolutely. I just got the kickoff in my hand a few moments ago. Tommy, we got some stuff to discuss. The biggest thing, and I'm pretty sure everyone wants to hear about this, the damage to the Tennessee program. I'm pretty sure we can go on for hours about this, but just take it from the top. What happened? What's going on?
Well, Tennessee laid an egg. There's not a whole lot of way you can put it. They got outcoached and they got outplayed. They got out-schemed. They on defense they had no stop for the spread that Georgia State was running in the mobile quarterback. Which stopping a mobile quarterback has been an issue for Tennessee for years now. Even all the way back to the Fulmer era, mobile quarterbacks have always given their defense a whole lot of trouble. Another issue that, really hasn't, everybody's covered the quarterback. I mean, Garantano didn't play well. He wasn't awful, but another problem that I noticed is they haven't had a running game. They haven't had one for a while, but really right now they don't have. They were getting no push up front on their offensive line, which is, a regular topic for Tennessee for the last year or two. But they got. I think Chandler led the team with 48 yards rushing, and then Gray had a true freshman, and Eric Gray had another 29 yards rushing. But right now they're very one-dimensional. I think it was Jim Chaney's first game as the new offensive coordinator, and I think they just were not in sync the whole game. And
from the sound of it, this wasn't this was, to be blunt, catastrophic, just unbearably awful.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's still a 12-game season, and I don't want to make too much out of an upset loss. If you remember, Nick Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe in his first year at Alabama, which was pretty catastrophic as well. I think people need to hold the, saying putting coaches on hot seat after this it's ridiculous. It's one game. SEC hasn't started yet. But the problem is that it doesn't give. The optics are really bad for Jeremy Pruitt on this and for everybody else. Around the Tennessee program, it's just a bad loss. I mean, the worst loss. A team that won 2 games in the Sun Belt last year. But you can't sugarcoat that.
No, you can't. Which is going to lead to the next question. You say we shouldn't pack up our ball and leave yet, but with something like this, can they make a recovery?
Yeah, they can make a recovery. They have talent. Right now, you've got. First of all, you got to address the issues up front on both sides of the ball. They were getting no push on the defensive line was getting no push, and you thought that having Aubrey Solomon starting to play would have been, but they also had some injuries there. But with a 5-star transfer coming in from Michigan, who's slated to come in and start right away, he's got to do more. On the offensive line, you've only got Trey Smith in there who's recovering from his own health problems, with the blood clots in his lungs. He's probably not in he hasn't hit since last season or hasn't taken any contact even through practice. He wasn't cleared to play until this week as well, and he's the freshman All-American and the best player on Tennessee's overall player considered at one point on Tennessee's team. With Juwan Jennings, Garantano, Marquez Callaway, and you got two highly talented freshmen coming in and playing significant minutes, and they've got to fit. Now, this week offers another huge test. If they can win this weekend, then I think a lot of the questions will die down. And BYU is no easy. They lost to Utah last week, 30-12, but Utah is also a top 15 team by everybody, and by us, we have them. They're top 10 and our favorites to win the Pac-12. So that was not a sign that BYU is going to have a down year this year. They're going to be a tough opponent, and I think Tennessee has got. And Tennessee is still favored by 4 points at this point. That doesn't mean I'd take the spread on that at this point, but Tennessee really needs a win week. This game will mean a lot more to the direction of their season than losing last week, I think. If they can turn around, win against the Moccasins of UTC next week, then I think at least in Knoxville, a lot of the fans' apprehension will be this loss is going to sting for a long time, but I think they'll still be able to look ahead to the rest of the season with some sort of, if not confidence, then less dread.
So, absolutely, I agree with you tenfold on that. And speaking of the FCC in total, there just hasn't been a good week for the SEC, has it?
Oh, it hasn't. South Carolina gave Mac Brown his first victory as the new coach of North Carolina, another team that, although are in a much more respected division than Georgia State, they're the ACC team. There's still another team that won 2 games last year and fired their coach. And plus they're without quarterback Jake Bentley for a significant portion now. I don't know if he's been ultimately ruled out for the year, but he's hurt, so they're in a tough spot. Ole Miss Memphis was actually favored to beat Ole Miss, so it wasn't a complete shock. But at the same time, it's not a game that you wanted the SEC to lose. And then on top of that, Missouri lost to Wyoming. Losing to Wyoming is what, we bring it back to Tennessee, losing to Wyoming is what ultimately was kind of the nail in the coffin after they let Fulmer go back in 2007. So the game, an SEC school is not supposed to lose. I think it's going to be a long, and although they lost through luck to the NFL afterwards, with Kelly Bryant coming in as a transfer from Clemson, there were a lot of expectations from Missouri, and that's one of the things you get with a lot of these transfers that are coming in expecting to start right away. It takes time for these quarterbacks to gel into a new system, and even though Brian played well enough, you can't just expect miracles to happen when something like that happens. Unless you're Ohio State and you have so much talent around the quarterback that it doesn't go, or Oklahoma, where you have so much talent around the quarterback that it ultimately doesn't, they're able to make up for any deficiencies with vanilla play calling.
Of course. They're big, they're powerful, and they're strong, but it takes time and patience. Now,
right,
go ahead.
No, that's exactly right. You have to have patience in this situation. Just like, coming this season, I was higher on Tennessee, not to bring it back to them, but you can't. It's the first game of the season. You can't just say, fire the offensive coordinator, fire the new defensive coordinator. It takes time for all these pieces to gel and get rolling.
What a great statement by you, Tommy, as always. Now, Let's talk previews. What's coming up,
All right.
and what do you think is going to happen?
Well, we've got a couple. Last week we didn't, even though we had obviously some big upsets and some good games, we didn't really have a lot of marquee matchups. This week we've got marquee matchups. The biggest game in my book will be when LSU travels to play Texas, which is kind of a shock that when you think LSU and Texas, you would think a great border state rivalry. These schools have only played 15 times in their over 100 years of college football at both schools, and they've only played twice since 1954, I think. The last Texas leads the series 8-6-1, but you look at it, the last time these schools played was 2002, which, for me, it's like, oh, that's just yesterday. But you think about it, that was 17 years ago, 15, 16, 17 years ago. And, so I think it's not just intriguing, but, I think it's a good matchup. You got Sam Ehlinger, played well last week for Texas. The LSU quarterback, the new quarterback, well, he's not new. He's been there a year. Joe Burrow played excellent last week, but they played Georgia Southern, beat them 55-3. LSU's got to get a ground game. Texas showed some signs of ground game. Texas lost a lot more talent, had a lot less talent coming back this year than LSU. A lot is expected of both of these teams. I think we had Texas I'm not sure if we had them rated higher going into the preseason. I don't think so. They're right at 7 and 8 right now. And, I think LSU is a slightly better team, which we have them by about a tenth of a point better in our rating system. But Texas doesn't play in the SEC West, and that's another thing we talk about SEC's weak. All the bad losses, with the exception of Ole Miss, all came from the East Division, which may have been the division that everyone is overrated, because we thought, the East is starting to make some noise. And Florida got a good win last week, but besides that, LSU still plays in the SEC West, which right now still looks like the top division in college football. And it'll be the interesting matchup. And we also have the Texas A&M and Clemson, which was a barn burner, nail biter a year ago when they matched up at Texas A&M, with Clemson coming away with fourth quarter comeback and won it by 1 point over A&M. And I think Clemson's got to be real careful. Texas A&M is they're an ascending program again. Since they've been in the SEC, they've taken a step. They're much more formidable than they ever were when they were in the Big 12, and they are on the cusp of really something special with Jimbo Fisher there.
Ooh, great statements by you, Tommy, as always. We're getting close to the half of the hour. We're going to be taking our stepping back. Before we sign off, again, tell them, how can we get the kickoff?
Give us a call at 423-265-0953, or you can log on to the kickoffstore.com. You just log in and sign up right there.
Excellent. As always, Tommy, again, we say thank you so much for stepping up with us for the football season. We're going to be talking to you next Friday. Hopefully, if everything is well, you won't be speaking to me. David Jenkins hopefully will be taking the reins back once again. The red mic needs his attention, and we could use him greatly. Tommy, thank you so much, as always. We hope to talk to you next Friday. Well, we will be. Either he will or I will. I promise you that. And we'll hope to see you soon, boss.
All right. I look forward to hearing David back in the studio again.
Yeah, he can give you a better conversation than I can, that's for sure.
Oh, it's okay. You've done fine, Ethan.
All right. Thank you so much, Tommy.